Thank you, Enrique. As he mentioned, the events module updates have been launched. They were launched over the weekend, and this update moves us completely out of Flash, which is really exciting. And our goals for this new interface were to maintain the functionality of the events module, to streamline event management with everything you need in one place, and to put more control in the hands of the council administrators. We've added some new options for editing existing features, and the whole system is mobile. So today we are going to take a tour of the new interface to show you where everything is. Then we'll go through again in more detail to highlight some new editing options and improvements. We'll demonstrate how to access the Air app and review which features will be accessible there temporarily. We'll take a brief glance at the mobile appearance, and then we'll discuss our admin manual and our updates there. So let's get into the system. First of all, the admin side panel menu here is how you will access every section of the Tentaroo admin interface. Events, facilities, and websites will all take you to those systems, and the settings section will prompt you to download the desktop Air app, which we'll go into in more detail. And that grants you access to a few legacy interface items, which will be done in early 2021. We'll definitely have more on that later. So let's begin by clicking on the Events button, and this will bring up the Event Type Selector modal, and we will go into a lot more detail on this later, but for now I'm just going to load one of my event types for the tour, and this is Scouts BSA Summer Camp. And we're going to start from right to left as we go through each section. Now, all of our modules will have the same modern look and organization. This blue bar at the top is how you will navigate between each section of the events interface editor. So settings is going to be the home for all of your event type settings, such as contacts, pricing, registration rules, etc. We'll go into each of those later. Message Center is where you'll add, edit, and send messages for your events. Reports has two sections. Generate Reports, which has the list of reports for the event type. This is the same list of reports that we had in the legacy interface, and these were found under the System Reports tab, along with accounting reports. So this is all of the event type reports that will draw for all events under this event type for the selected year. Year Overview will give you a quick overview of the numbers for the year. The product section is going to allow you to manage products assigned to this event type. And the last section is Events. This is where you'll manage events for the event type, such as your weeks of summer camp. Each event has a new blue bar navigation here at the top. Again, going from right to left, we'll start at Settings. This is where you'll manage dates, fees, and now you can view and edit shared settings for the event type. The Classes section includes consolidated class management features for class types, time blocks, and classes for your class schedule. The dashboard gives you a quick overview of the registration numbers for this event, and it gives you a summary of your settings for the event. The Tools box will allow you to manage your event, and this gives you reports specific to this event. And depending on how your event type is configured, you may also have a campsite section at the bottom. A lot of our sections within the admin interface have some enhanced filter options to help you find what you need quickly. Depending on what section, you may have some or all of these. You'll have search bars that appear wherever there is a magnifying glass. Sometimes it is at the header of a section, like here in Classes. Other times it's in the header of a modal or the blue admin navigation at the top. You have an enhanced filter button that looks like a funnel, and this will bring up other options for the section. Some other filters include drop-downs to choose different categories, and toggles such as Show Deleted, which appears in a lot of our sections. New buttons in desktop view will be green with the word new on them. And in some of the modals, which are another word for pop-ups, and in the blue bar at the top of mobile view, so cell phones and tablets, you'll have instead a white plus for adding something new. And then cards for classes or events or other things, you'll see a 3-dot menu here. That will bring up additional options for you to choose from. We've also added throughout the system additional help text underneath fields to help you understand what each field requires. Okay, let's get into some more details for how to manage your events. So I'm going to go all the way back to the events button from the admin side panel menu. The event types modal has some really amazing tools here that I'm really excited about. So first of all, the event types listed are sorted alphabetically, but those with upcoming events are sorted to the top. So if I scroll down far enough, the alphabet starts over for events that don't have upcoming events. This box is also searchable, so you can look for your event type quickly. And each event type card has a 3-dot menu with options that will take you directly to sections within the editors. So open will take you to the events list. Edit will take you over to the settings, so you can update the settings for this. Now this is exciting. This is new. You can now duplicate any event type, which will give you a card with the existing details. It'll tell you that you're making a copy of the event type. So you can now rename that event type. And when you're duplicating an event type, you can change the registration method. Once you have saved an event type or created a new one, once it's committed, you can't change the registration method anymore. Now you can. Click on the gray X, and then you'll get back to the registration method box where you can choose in between these. And I'll show you this again when we're building a new event type. This box lets you change other details. I won't go into details on this yet because we're going to talk more about it when we create a new one. But once you click duplicate, you'll have a brand new event type with the same basic settings as the one you duplicated. And the times you might want to use this duplicate is when you have something like a district camporee or district trainings that have the same basic settings, but maybe they're a different district. They're at a different location. So now you can build one, duplicate it, update the details you need to, and you don't have to recreate that entire event type when it's the same as the one you just created. You can also delete an event type from here, which should remove it from the list. That will also mean that your users can't go back and retrieve their details. So if they had merit badges that they wanted to get or they needed to know when they took a training, it's probably best to leave the event type active, and anything in the past will just be hidden. So I'm going to restore now using the show deleted toggle at the bottom and the restore button, and I will bring that one back. I am going to show you how to add a new event type. So using that white plus button in the header of my modal, I'm going to bring up a new event type. So the first step is to select your registration method. Each of these has an explanation of how it works, and all you have to do is click Start Your New Event Type. If you needed a different registration method, now is your time to change it, because once you have saved your event type, you cannot change the registration method. All right, so once we build in some basic information here, we'll fill out the required items, and then we can create our event. Now, before I get too much farther, I do want to mention that on the location card here, I chose a location from the list. If I need a different location, there's a gray X on the right that I can click, and that will remove the location, and I can choose a different one. However, if I use this pencil icon, which is an edit icon, this will edit the actual location, not just which location is assigned to this event type. So if I were to change, for example, Summit Bechtel Reserve to United Methodist Church, then it would change everywhere that Summit Bechtel Reserve is in use. So edit locations with caution, and each admin has to have the proper permissions to edit locations, or you won't be able to do this. Okay, so I am going to fill out the last item that's required, and that's the contact. Click Save, and now I'm at the new event type. Once your event type is saved, you can go to Settings to fill in more information on this and complete your settings. Now, I am actually going to switch back to an existing event type to demonstrate the remaining settings. All event type settings, just like in the legacy interface, are shared among all events built in this event type. If you change any of these, that will affect all of the events built underneath. So if you have an event that requires different event type settings, you may need to create a different event type to work with it. This first section is general settings such as the name of the event, description, any links to your leader's guide or an external website if you have one. Here's the location card where you can swap or edit your locations. And then this next one here is new, the new registration confirmation message. And this is new-ish. This is one of those things that we could manage for you in the past. You would write a message in the message center, ask us to assign it to an event type, and then every time a new registration is created, a group registers for your event, they would get your welcome message. Now you have control over assigning messages, changing messages out, swapping them out, and editing. You could always edit them, but now you can see which message is assigned so you can update it to make sure that it's going out properly. The pencil icon will allow you to edit the assigned message. Save at the bottom to commit the changes. The gray X will remove the assigned message and you can select a new one. And then you have a pencil icon from within here as well to edit the message. There's also a white plus here at the top where you can open up a new message card and type up a new message, and this will be saved in your message center for use as well. Okay. The next section then, so we have contacts, those are all the same. Pricing. Most of the settings here, or the settings available here, will depend on the registration method selected, same as it would with the legacy interface. So I'm just going to highlight some of the changes that we have made. Scrolling down to pricing tiers, every account has the same basic 3 pricing tiers: the default / in council, which is always enabled, out of council, and provisional, and you can decide whether or not you want to turn those on depending if you're offering a different pricing for those groups. Now, what's new in the new interface is that we can add additional pricing tiers by request. So if you want to customize your event pricing structure, you can send us a message to support@tentaroo.com to add additional tiers or remove them. You can also use Contact Tentaroo here in the help text to open up the support request form to ask us right here, right now for something, and then we will get back to you as soon as we can on that with our normal turnaround times. Participant types is the same behavior as before, just a new format. You can add a new one by clicking the new button below, and that will continue adding rows. As always, you need at least 1 adult and 1 youth line. There's another way to restrict a registration to just youth or just adults, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. This next section is new, and it is also coming soon. So we are working on getting this rolled out early 2021. But it is not launched yet. So the way this is you can lock in pricing based on either the date of registration, which is currently available for names only events, or on the date when the registration is paid in full, which is how numbers events work. So the date of registration means that an individual could register during the early rate and pay at the door and still pay the early rate. The date paid in full means if they register in the early rate but pay at the door, they're actually going to pay the late rate because that's the current rate available in the system. Coming in the first quarter of 2021, we're going to open the date of registration option to numbers events as well. So numbers events can either be based on the date of registration or the date paid in full. Names registrations will only be able to pay based on the date of registration still. Okay, the group and registration section is next on my list. Every event type can be listed as default group type, and then you have a default unit type if it's a unit account being created. What's new here-ish, again, because this is something we could control for you before, but now you have control over this, is you can decide whether or not to show this default group type field during account creation. So if you want to encourage groups to only sign up as unit accounts, you can say that all new accounts have to be unit accounts. I have an example for you of this. When you select an event or location, it's going to ask you to create an account based on what account type you want. So my Alachua District Camporees has this field shown. Here's your account type where you can say I'm a unit or I'm a family. If I switch now to my Scouts BSA summer camp, I have hidden the account type field, so it's going to say that I have to create a troop account in order to register. This is handy when you have event registrations that you want to encourage people to sign up under one, but I have to note that this does not restrict which groups can sign up. If someone already has a family account, they could still sign up for your Scouts BSA summer camp. Okay, so I am going to switch back now to the admin. And most of the rest of these settings are legacy interface items that have just been moved over. So here's your campsite ranking and your registration notes fields. This next section on named participants, I do want to highlight a few things here. So this is where you would restrict a registration to just adults by clicking the toggle on to disable youth. And now this registration is adults only. So I can turn that back on and turn off adults, and now it's youth only. The rest of these settings are the same as in the legacy interface, just the layout has changed. The toggles you can click on or off if they're bright. If they're faded like this, that means you cannot turn it off. You can change whether they're required or optional. But for example, date of birth is always shown for youth. You can't turn it off entirely, but you can make it an optional field. The allergies and dietary restrictions is shared as always. The main difference here is that you can click the toggle on either youth or adults, and it will just switch the toggle on the other. So it will be on for both or off for both, but you can switch it now on either youth or adult settings. The next sections are you can turn on the OA fields, and then you have your class scheduling where you can turn on or off wait lists, require unique class types, and then the minimum scheduled time blocks is the last section. And this really hasn't changed other than we have added additional help text to help you understand how these fields work. Once you've made all the changes that you want to your event type settings, click Save in the bottom bar to commit your changes. And then the next section I'm going to talk about is the Message Center. The Message Center includes messages shared between all events in the system. This list is searchable, so you can find a specific message that you need. You can use the New button to create a new message. You can click on a card to edit, or there's the three-dot menu that also includes an Edit button. You can send your message from the three-dot menu or from the editor. There's a Send Message button in the top. When you send a message, you can choose from your upcoming weeks in the coming year or in the current year. So this is still 2020 for a few more days. So we're seeing all of the 2020 events. If you want, you can also toggle to show events from past years, which will then let you access any events from years before this one, all the way back to as far back as your records go. This one goes back to 2010. You can then send your message to any past week or future week, and sending it to a past week is great as a marketing opportunity if you want to reach out to your previous attendees and ask them to come to for future weeks or new events. And this message, as with the legacy interface, will send to the primary and alternate account contacts for the group. Once you have a week selected, you can now select sending to all registered groups or specific groups. When you have specific groups selected, you get a new button to choose your groups. You can check any box next to a group you want to send it to. You can search for a specific group. You can select all or deselect all. And then once you have your recipients selected, you'll see an orange button here for each one. You can remove them with this X, add additional, and then send to complete the send of your message. These messages can also be deleted either from the three-dot menu or from the edit panel. When messages are deleted, they'll be removed from your active list, but you can click on Show Deleted to see those messages and restore them to the active list. If you have a message assigned as a new registration confirmation message for an event type, and then it's deleted, it will no longer send to that event type. The next section is reports, and there's not a whole lot more to say about this. You can change the year that you're looking for reports on, select the year you want to gather data on, scroll to the bottom and click Generate Report. These reports are the same as in the legacy interface, just a different appearance. And then the year overview lets you choose the year and your view. And the data available in each of these cards will vary depending on the registration method selected for your event type. A names-only event will have different data points than a numbers and names event, for example. The products section includes products now that are specific to this event type. There's no master products list as there was in the legacy interface. Anything that you had assigned to an event type will now be sorted under that event type, and any new products that you add here will only appear under this event type. Adding a new product is basically the same, has all the same features. You can make these admin only. You can now drag and drop an image from your computer into this file, or in desktop or in mobile, you can click or tap on that icon, and this will open a browsing folder on your computer so you can go and find the file that you want. This also includes help text about what image sizes and formats are supported. Once you've added all of your details, you can click Create and your product will be added to the list. Clicking on the product will bring up the Edit panel. The three-dot menu here has Edit and Delete as options, and then you can also restore deleted products. Your products list is searchable, so if you end up with a very long list of products available, you can find exactly what you want to work with very quickly. The events has the most going on for it, so I did want to save this for last. So the events section of the event type shows your list of active events. As with sending a message, you can toggle to show events from past years, which will show you all of the past records for all of your events. And you can manage any of those from here. You also have a show deleted toggle, so you can see and restore any deleted events. Your events list is searchable, so especially once you start looking at all of your events from past years, you can find what you want quickly. And then the new button is going to launch a new event card where you can fill in your event name and dates and click Create, and then you'll be working with a new event in all the settings. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the three-dot menu on one of the events, and this has different options to take you to different sections. I'm going to click on Edit because I want to go directly to the settings in the new blue bar navigation at the top. The settings includes a summary of event type shared settings to begin with. Anywhere that you see a shared settings card, you'll also, usually see a pencil edit icon. This will allow you to edit shared settings for the event type. Anything here can be changed and saved and will affect not only this event, but all other events built under this event type. The next section is dates, where this will be the dates that you put in on the new event card that I showed you. And you can also update any of these while you're in the editor. Pricing is probably one of our more exciting updates. While the fields are all basically the same, we have an import button here. The import button will allow you to select another event from within this event type to copy all the pricing settings in one fell swoop. So you can build week 1 of summer camp, get all of your settings correct, build week 2, import your pricing. There are other things you can import too, but for right now, we'll just talk pricing. So you only have to set it once and then copy it over, and that will reduce chances of user error, forgetting to update a pricing. I also want to mention that pricing is no longer inherited at all from the event type. You set all of your GL account and dollar amounts in the event itself. All right, so let's talk about the actual settings under pricing and some of the changes we've made here. First of all, GL accounts. So when you do an import, the GL account from your from your import event will be saved. If you're building a brand new event that doesn't have a GL account yet, you'll see a Select GL Account button. This will bring up a modal with a list of all of your GLs to work with. This list is searchable, so you can quickly find the one that you want through that. You'll also notice that each of these GL account cards has a pencil icon. This is for admins with edit location permissions only. You can click on this pencil icon. I said locations, I meant GL accounts. System admins then. Only system admins can edit a GL account and update the details and save. These are shared settings, so this will update the GL account wherever it's used throughout the system, including historical changes. So any events in the past that use this will now be displaying the new GL account details, which is why this is a system admin permission. Update the GL account itself with caution. You can also, as a system admin, use the white plus to add a new GL account if you need to. Otherwise, anyone with permissions to edit the event can select and change the GL account. And that's by using the gray X to remove it and choosing a new one. Okay, then you also get some shared settings. The nice thing about the shared settings box is, besides being able to use the pencil icon to edit, is that you'll also see a summary or a list of all of the settings from the event type, which removes the guesswork of, oh, I know I saw that setting, but where was it? Because it's going to tell you right here where that setting comes from if you're getting something you weren't expecting, and then you know where to go and find it to change it. So the next allow reductions until date is here. You have some more shared settings about amounts due up front. You have deposit information. And then let's see, pricing levels by date. A lot of this is not changed, which is why I'm not going into it in details. Coming down here to the registration fees section. So when you're building your event type, you can define which pricing tiers are enabled. And depending on what you've set for that, will show which card here. So for example, provisional is not enabled for this event type. So provisional is disabled, but it's still shown as an option. You can enter in your pricing details, and then if you want, you can click the copy button to duplicate all of your settings from default in console to other pricing types. Just be aware that if you end up with the same pricing and 2 different pricing tiers, it may mean that you don't need to enable the additional pricing tier at all. If the pricing tiers are not enabled, accounts assigned to that pricing tier will get the default pricing. Okay, moving on to the registration card. This is where you'll set your capacity settings for the event. There are some more shared settings about your accounts allowed to register. The next shared settings card is about the youth and adult settings. And the last card on the event settings is class scheduling, and that will tell you how the class scheduling is configured for the event type. And that's really it on the settings tab. So I'm going to go ahead and click save to commit any of my changes that I made. And then the next section that I want to talk about is classes. I'm going to start with class types, and this is the master list of class types shared throughout the system. So any edits you make here will affect all of your events that use classes. This list is searchable. You can show deleted, click new to add a new class type, and then again, the image is a drag and drop or click to browse. Otherwise, the settings here are the same as in the legacy interface. On the cards themselves, you can click on a card to edit. You can use the three-dot menu to edit or delete, and you can restore any deleted class types. Now I'm going to look real quick at a merit badge class. Here we go. In the merit badge class types, we have well, in all the class types, but particularly for merit badges, we have a requirements block where you can enter a comma-separated list of all requirements available for that class. And this list, when your system was set up, we entered all of the requirements that National currently had for merit badges, but they, of course, update those merit badge lists periodically. We do not update your system for you with that because we allow you to modify your requirements list yourselves. So what we have done is we have compiled a Google spreadsheet with the current requirements from BSA National, and we have that linked in our admin manual under classes, and Michelle is going to add that link right now to the chat. We periodically review the national requirements for merit badges, and anytime there are updates, we try to update our list. National is our source, of course, so if there's anything that our list doesn't have as current as what National has, please base your requirements list on National and let us know, because we'll go in there and update the list. It's getting to that time of year where that's going to happen again, where National releases their next round of updates. So it's on our to-do list to go and update that document on our end. And we have included the National's publication date for each merit badge in a column after the requirements, so you can confirm which version you're looking at. And then you can copy and paste the list of requirements into the requirements box here in the admin interface to update your merit badge. That will only apply to participants taking that class in the future. It won't apply to historical changes to past participants. Okay, the next section for under classes is time blocks. And one of the main changes we've made here is we've moved the number of time blocks under the time blocks section, which makes sense. So you can use this to change how many time blocks are being offered. And then each card here will have your time block settings and your visibility settings. And this is the big one. There's an import button. So you can now build your time block schedule under another event and then select that event to import your time blocks, so you don't have to rebuild your time block schedule for every event now. The save button for this section is at the bottom, so you'll need to click that to save your changes. And now let's move over to classes where we can build a class schedule. So this section is also searchable once you have a class schedule built. There's an enhanced filter button, which brings up more filter options to decide which set of classes you are looking for if you want to restore a deleted version of a class. You have a new button where you can build a class from the form. And we have made two primary changes under the new class form that I want to highlight for a moment. The first is that in the legacy interface, we referred to an admin only classes, well, admin only, that your groups couldn't self-register. And now we have changed that to simply allow self-registration, which you can toggle off for an admin only class. That'll be handy for your camperships. And the other big change we've made to this is the instructor. You can now add your instructor name and initials right within the class editor, and that will appear on the Enter Requirements Completed card as well. The rest of the settings under this section are basically the same. Brand new layout, fresh look, easier to find, more help text. And then we've also made a few changes so that the settings you see here are specific to the registration method you are using. So if you are using a names only registration, you can't set up a group class. So this field will be hidden and all you can do is build an individual class. Reduces user error. We're very happy with that update. Once you have all your details in, you can click create and that will add your class to the list. I just closed it because I didn't add enough details to save a new class. And then on each card, you now have also a 3-dot menu, and this will let you edit your class. This will also let you export your instructor class roster from here, so that will bring a report just for this one class. You can also click on enter requirements completed to launch the modal to enter your merit badge completion data. You can also do that from this orange button with the 3 lines and the check mark. That is the same thing to enter requirements completed. Here is your instructor name and initials again. And then you have a mass update box, and anything you change here will affect all registered participants. So if you say everybody's partial, they'll all be partial. Everybody's completed, they're now all completed. You can check the boxes to say which days they attended, and you can see how Zach's dates are updating automatically. The same with entering requirements, is clicking on these boxes will fill in everybody. You can also modify individuals. You can add all the requirements. You can clear all the requirements. You can check on days just for one participant. You can modify their status as always. Now, if you mark somebody as no-show, that they didn't attend, and then you use your mass update options, it will not modify your no-show participants. So they won't be updated and you have to go back and change them. The other big difference I want to mention, let me put him back as partial, is that if you uncheck a day for a participant, the attendance boxes up here will look a little different. The orange box with a check mark means everybody attended that day. The lighter orange box with a white line through it means that you had partial attendance, some attended and some did not. Oh, and your participant list is searchable, so you can find somebody specific. You also have a box here that is a manual enter of requirements. So if you know that you had somebody that did something specific that wasn't listed among the requirements, let's say that requirement 8 wasn't being taught at camp, but they put in a little extra effort and completed it anyway, you can type that in and hit enter, and requirement number 8 will be added. Let's go ahead and add all the other requirements and save our changes here. Now, from the 3-dot menu, I'm also going to go back and export the instructor class roster briefly. And what that manually entered requirement will do is it will add an extra column with just a couple of asterisks in the top and then the specific requirement entered next to the named participant. Now, the big change again is that import button. We're going to love that import button. With your class lists in the legacy interface, you could build your class list under one event and copy it to another event that didn't already have classes. We have taken that functionality and souped it up. Now you can not only import from another class, you can import when you already have classes built. You can import from any other event within the event type, and you can also switch event types. So if you've built something, let's say under the merit badge fairs that you want to offer again at summer camp, you can select your merit badge fair, select your classes, all, some, doesn't matter. You can pick and choose what you need to import. So let's say you built your campership and you know it's right, so you just copy that over so you don't mess anything up. You can do that. And then those classes will be added to your event schedule. You can also import again from any other class, from any other event type. And anything that you have already selected will be grayed out, so you can't accidentally add a class twice and have an additional a set of classes that you've already imported. You can do this import process as many times as you need to build your schedule. I would say once you have your import completed, once you have all your classes over, go through each one, make sure that all of your time block settings are correct, make sure your pricing is correct, and any other settings such as which participant types are eligible for this. Once you have your schedule finished and confirmed, then you can get a second set of eyes, and then you can feel confident that your schedule is right for your event. Then the last item from the three-dot menu is delete. You can remove a class from your list. And then, of course, there was the show deleted where you could restore it. The export instructor class roster and enter requirements completed options are only available for individual events. They are not eligible or not available for group events. So if you have a group event, it will just have edit and delete from the three-dot menu, and that is by design. I don't think we have any in this event type, but there's also a feature within the user interface where you, as an admin, can add an unscheduled class. If you have a participant with an unscheduled class added, and we can talk in an individual training if you need to know when and why you would use an unscheduled class, that will appear on this list as you can enter requirements completed, and you can export the instructor class roster, but you aren't going to be allowed to edit or delete that from the admin interface. That is only done from the group interface. Okay, I think that pretty much wraps us up on classes. Let's move over now to the dashboard. So the dashboard gives you a quick view of the numbers for this event, and what you see up here will again depend on the registration method selected. The next section is a summary of your registration settings that affect your end users, and this is the same information that is shown in the user interface to your groups. The next card is the tools box, and the tools box is where your event admins can do most of the management for your event from the admin side. What you see here will depend on how the registration, how the event type is set up. For example, recalculate pricing is available for numbers events that lock in pricing based on date paid in full. So you can recalculate all the pricing. This was previously referred to as increased pricing, and the function is the same. We just renamed it because recalculate pricing is more accurate because it can take it both up or down depending on what your pricing is set to be. Generate invoices has not changed. Message Center, this will take you out of the event and into the Message Center where you can manage your messages or send them to your event. Let's go back to our event now, to the dashboard. Enter class requirements completed is the third way to enter that information. So there was two within classes, the three-dot menu and the little orange button. You can click here to bring up a list of all of your individual classes. Select a class card, and that will bring you into the update requirements completed box. And as you can see, pardon me, this has all the data that I entered in the other section, so it's all instantly updated throughout the system. The last item here is export instructor class roster, and this will also let you choose to export the roster for one class. To get a report that includes rosters for all of your classes, you'll scroll down to the reports section. The reports available here are exactly the same as in the legacy interface, and they are specific to the event you are working with. So you can click on one of these so that the button is orange, scroll down to the bottom, and there's a generate button, and this will download that report just like it did in the legacy interface.
I just want to mention one thing about the instructor class roster. In the legacy system, it used to be sorted by program area, but the new system doesn't have program areas anymore. So that's sorted simply by class type and then by time block, I believe.
Okay, thank you, Moisha. The rest of these reports are the same as in the legacy interface. One of the big changes then is that each one has help text to describe what that report has, or a lot of them do, not all of them. The last section here is campsites, and this will give you a quick view of how many groups and individuals are signed up for each campsite. You can also click on the export button to download this. Campsites, this section will only appear for numbers events where you have campsites set up at the location. And so not every event is going to have this section. Also wanted to note from the dashboard that there's a left-hand panel here that you can use to quickly jump between events. So I'm in week 7, that is highlighted. I can go over to week 6 to look at that information, edit that, manage that just by clicking on the next card. The 3-dot menu will also have buttons to get you to different sections of the events interface. And this section is searchable. And you can use the enhanced filter button to show events from past years and show deleted, which was already turned on. So you can restore past weeks of summer camp as well. So that is the events module interface. I want to talk a little bit now about the select client modal. The select client modal, most of you will be very familiar with. The groups tab is the first one that comes up, and that is one that we launched when the new user interface went into play a couple of years ago. This is the full list of all of your groups. What's new or new-ish for events are the registrations and participants section. We launched registrations when we launched the facilities module earlier this fall. From here, you can select an event type, a year, and either look at all events or a specific event. And then from here, you can see each group that is registered, a summary of their spots, total amount for the registration, and their balance due. This list is searchable, so you can find somebody specific. There it is, 05. And if you click on a card for a group, it's going to bring you to the registration in their account, where you can make apply a payment, update their numbers, any other registration management you need to do from here. Back in the select client modal, we also have a participants section, and this will also let you select an event type. But what this does, instead of showing the group, this is going to show you individual participants for your session for your event or events. This will give you what group they're part of, what week they're registered for, and you can also change which year you're looking at here to get more information. And you can search for a specific participant here. Clicking on that person will bring you to their registration in their group, where you can then edit or cancel the participants. So if you need to change classes, this is the fastest way to get in to modify their registration. You can also use the back button in the blue bar navigation to return to the group to do your group management items. I forgot to mention something about the registration section, which I find very exciting. If you have an event that is names only, it is still going to convert the named participants into a spots summary for this card, so you can see how many people are coming. And that's not something that we had as readily available in the legacy interface. So that's nice to be able to see a quick head count for a names only event. In the select client modal, you'll also see trips and reservations. If you don't use our facilities module, you won't need to use those. Those are specific to managing your facilities reservations. And that does wrap up the select client modal. And the next thing that I'm going to pass the torch over to Enrique for a few minutes is talking about the settings for the administration, and that is going to be temporarily in the Air app. And installing the Air app between a PC and a Mac is fairly easy. Enrique is going to demonstrate it on a PC because there's an extra step for doing it with a Mac. We'll have instructions on that when you get to Enrique's going to show you where the instructions are for that. And then if you need assistance getting your Mac set up, you can schedule training with me and I will show you how to take care of that. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing. And Enrique, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Annika. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, everybody can see my screen? All right, that's good. All right, so in order to access the Air app, you're going to need to download a couple of files and install them on your computer. The first file is the Air app, and this is the Adobe program that you install that you can run a specific company's apps, and ours will be the Tentaroo legacy system Air app. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on the settings icon, and you're going to click on download the Air app, because I wanted to download onto my desktop, and you see that it's downloading there. And then I'm going to click on the Get Adobe Air, and that is going to open a page at admin.tentaroo.com, your support website, your manual website. And you can either download the Mac app or the Windows app. I am running Windows 10, so I will go ahead and download that application. Okay, so once it downloads, there's an order that I have to install them in. You're going to install the Adobe Air installer, the executable. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that one, so it'll start doing. I'm hoping, since this is a webinar and a virtual setting, that this all goes smoothly. And the morning session, it went nice and smooth. Everything installed within 1 minute. But this is 2020, and anything can happen 2020. So once it processes, it's going to give you the cancel or agree, and I want to agree and install the Adobe Air app. Your computer will ask you to confirm that you want Adobe Air to make changes to your computer, and that quickly it installed. It's a very, very simple installation. Once that is done, you're going to locate your admin Tentaroo legacy app. You're going to click on it, and it is going to go through the same process, and you're going to answer once again yes that you want to install. You can decide whether you want to start the application afterwards or install a desktop icon. I am going to do that just because I want to be able to find it very easily. And it's going to go ahead and install. This one takes a little bit longer. It's still going to ask you the permission. It took, I think, about 30 seconds to install this morning without any issues. So it installs, and then once it comes up, we're going to go ahead and we'll go ahead and log in. So it'll take a second. And let me get the info that I need. So you have to know your username and password, and you have to know which system that you want to log in. I am going to log in. This is the Great Sky Country demo system. So we're going to go to Great Sky Country demo. I am going to put my username, and I'm going to stop talking because I can't type passwords and talk at the same time. All right, I blame that inability on my parents. All right, so now that it has loaded, this should look very, very familiar. This is not a flash up. This is a program that is running on your computer that looks like the old legacy interface. And just like on the old legacy interface, we're going to go ahead and we're going to select whatever event type that we want to work with. We're going to go ahead and go back to Scout BSA Summer Camp. And since Annika was working on week number 7, I will go ahead and select that also. So now it is loaded, except it looks a little bit different than before because this section is grayed out. This is just for you to be able to see, but you're not making any changes on this first screen. The only changes that you will make will be on the event registration. And I'm going to go ahead and select troop number 2. And here is where I can go ahead and select the registration date, change the campsite deposit. I can go ahead and assign campsites. You can also access group notes, admin notes, and notes for groups. This is where you would enter them. And if you are manually maintaining your pricing until we add the other pricing tier to events that use numbers, this is where you would maintain them. Very few councils are going to use this, but you still need to have access to it in case you do. And then when you're done, you can go ahead and save. Facilities. Facilities were already launched. There's nothing remaining for facilities in this old legacy interface. Locations are still here. The only things that you will manage on locations is campsites. So if you need to change the name of campsites or you want to add a new campsite or delete campsites, this is where you would be able to do that. Class types are gone. Those are part of the new event registration module. Products are also part of the event types. And then reports are some of them are here. Most of them have been moved into the event type and then the reports within the event type. These are the groups and the groups with a credit in the system reports. The other reports are the payment reports. These are the ones for reconciling to authorize.net, for your accounting, for your auditors. And then we have the calendar export, which you can access in the system. Nothing in websites. Websites has long been removed from this interface. And then options. This will be another one that you will need. This is where you can go in and give somebody permissions, create new users. You can go ahead and view the GL accounts, but you will probably, whether you're in the facilities or you're in the events, there's lots of places there where you can change it. So most likely you would not come here, but it is still here on this interface. And then general options is where you require at checkout, whether you're going to require the group checkout address and require a group phone number. So that is the entire process for the installing the Air app. It's a fairly straightforward process. If you want to download and install on a Mac, the instructions will be available here. And if you run into any issues, I know Kevin wants us after this to be able to, for us to be able to help him, then schedule a training and we will be more than happy to assist you in doing that. At the next webinar, we will show you how to uninstall this from your system. So that is all I have on the Air app, other than please feel free to uninstall Flash, because Flash is no longer needed in our system.
Yay!
Okay. So Annika, that will be, I will go ahead and give this back to you. I'll stop sharing.
All right, thank you. So I am going to now show you a little bit of how this is going to look on a phone. I have a relatively small phone, so everything's going to be a little tight. If you have a larger phone or working from a tablet, you'll get a bigger chunk of the interface, but all of the interactive here is going to be the exact same as it would be from your desktop, just a more compact view, slightly different action from the modals. So here's your events. Here's your event types list. All of your options are still available here to be able to manage your events. Select an event type to work with it. The blue bar navigation, you may need to drag from right to left to see the different options. And then you can make all of your edits from within here, change your location, etc., etc. And then one of the most exciting things about the mobile interface for being able to do things on the go, of course, is going to be to enter requirements completed from your phone. So you can do that from the dashboard in the tools box, and there's enter requirements completed, art, enter your details, mass update your folks, everything you need to do, save, and your changes are committed. So you can now do this anywhere that you have a mobile device, a desktop, and internet access. All of that can now be updated as you need to. You can download your reports, change event details from your committee meeting, all of that just from your phone. So I wouldn't recommend using your phone as your primary method of managing your events module, but this is a great way to make quick changes on the fly when you don't have access. You're no longer tethered to your computer to make changes. I want to mention here that the Air app that Enrique was talking about is desktop only. So those items for managing your admin accounts and managing your locations and campsite assignments, those kinds of things, those have to be done still on the desktop, but we are in the process of moving those over. That's next on our list. And the events registrations tab where you assign campsites, modified pricing, all those things, that is the first item on our list to move over, and the intended deadline on that is February 28th, that we should have that all moved over, and then we'll tackle other items after that. And so that is the mobile view. You can also see real briefly, I'll switch this. Sorry for the dizziness here, but here's the landscape view. So you can see it's the same stuff, just a little bit wider, all the same menus to manage your things. Okay. And now I'm going to switch back to the desktop for a moment. And the last thing that I want to mention is that our admin manual is a work in progress. This is a living document that we are working to keep up to date for you. Websites and facilities is all displaying the new admin interface instructions. And the events section is on our list as a support team to start updating this to give you the instructions for the new interface over the coming weeks. And so we will be replacing pages as they get updated with new information. And we'll also send out a newsletter to all of our councils, letting you know when that is ready for review. In the meantime, we are happy to do training. We recommend sharing the recording of the webinar that we send out to you with anyone who needs to get a tour of the interface, see how things work. And then if you still have questions, we're here. Schedule training with us at admin.tentaroo.com/training. Michelle is going to drop that link in the chat for you. And you can schedule with either me or Michelle for assistance with the new interface. And you can also send requests to support@tentaroo.com, of course, and we are happy to help you through that. All right. So in conclusion, I showed you how the new interface is laid out. Took you on a tour of where everything is located. I've highlighted some new features of what's available to you now and made the improvements that we've made to existing features. We showed you how to get into the Air app to access those few legacy items. Showed you the smartphone appearance and went over our admin manual updates. We have marked off so many goals with this new interface, getting all of the modules moved over. We've gotten away from Flash entirely. Like Enrique said, even though the Air app looks like the legacy interface, it is not Flash. We also made this new interface intuitive, mobile, so you can use it on any device. And it is cutting edge software that meets the needs of our BSA councils. So we're very happy to be able to bring this awesome software to you. And as we have mentioned several times, after the webinars today, we will be emailing a recording of this training to all of our councils, everyone who RSVP'd, and anyone who fills out that roll call form. We want to get everybody that we can to have access to this recording so you can watch it, you can share it, you can file it for future reference. And if you have staff that would like additional training on the new interface, you can schedule time with us at admin.tentaroo.com/training. Don't forget to fill out the roll call form, and it has a space for comments. We'd love to hear feedback from you, either on the webinar itself or feedback on the events module, questions. We'll be reading all of those and answering any questions that come up in that.